So tonight we are reviewing the brand spanking new Akai Professional MPC Live. Akai South Africa was gracious enough to drop this off for us. I told them about an hour after it came, they're never ever getting it back. So we're going to have to buy it from them because it's probably the coolest hardware drum machine I've ever used. Now they're advertising this unit as a hardware standalone music production station. And if you don't have a DAW or anything, you could definitely use it like that. The way that I'm using it is more like a hardware drum machine. And we've actually been looking for a hardware drum machine for a very long time. I demoed the Dave Smith Tempest. Amazing sounds, very hard to use. We demoed the Arturia Microbrute, which is cool if you're writing hats and claps over, but you can't use the kicks. It's not a full solution at all. And then we've had like the Roland TR909 and a couple of the like classic drum machines. So when I saw the videos come out for the Akai, I thought, wow, this is a real contender for something that you could use to replace something like Machine or like a digital drum machine and really get a full solution in terms of rhythm. Now it doesn't only do that, it does instruments, it's got a whole bunch of stuff which I'm going to show you. So let's get cracking. The coolest part about this for me, or three things. One, it has a touchscreen, which is so awesome, and you can actually see how big and fat this touchscreen is. 7 inches on the Live. Oh, 7 inches, say that again. And 10 inches on the MPC X. Now, so firstly, do not make the mistake that I made. You can use this unit and you can run it fully in sync, particularly if you use Ableton. It's particularly well synced with Ableton. Okay, let's cut to the point. So, I have Ableton here. I'm not using Ableton in any way. This entire song that you're going to hear is going to come out the MPC. The only reason I'm demonstrating this is I want to show you the sync. So here's a little hat loop that I have going on. And here's a little clap loop that I have going on. Okay. Now on the screen I have Ableton Link activated. Okay. And you can see it says one link active. Okay. And the MPC, as I said, in its synchronization options, if I just go to menu and I go to settings and I go to sync, I can actually see that I'm receiving synchronization information from Ableton Link, which is vital. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's start like this. I've actually assigned a whole bunch of samples, but if I wanted to assign a fresh sample, let me turn that down for a moment. If I wanted to assign a fresh sample, I'd go assign samples over here. Okay, assign samples, and then I can see here are all my pads. Okay, and cool. So in the assign sample section, I can go through firstly the onboard MPC sample library, which is phenomenal. Genuinely, I mean, I have hundreds of thousands of samples here. Samples from, you know, everything from Vengeance to like super high-end stuff by a whole bunch of manufacturers. And the stuff, even though it's not analog, it's digital, the sample library in the MPC is incredible. Loud, fat, clean. A lot of the samples are already in key. So for example, this kick drum is tuned to the key of D, which is perfect because I'm going to be working in D minor today. So not everything is tuned, but a fair amount of the samples, particularly low end stuff like kicks and toms, is tuned, which is very cool. All right, so I can actually use the onboard display, or I can use the pads themselves, and you'll see that on the outer periphery of the pad, very soft velocity, all the way to like max velocity right in the center. So extremely sensitive pads. I think there's 127 different degrees of velocity. If you are a finger drummer and into very complex fingering and very complex velocity, you'll love it. It's absolutely great. It's probably better than Machine. All right. Sorry about that, Native Instruments. I still love you guys. Cool. So here are the samples that I've got loaded. Okay, now let's look at the whole sync issue. So once I've loaded those samples up, and by the way, I have 4 banks, so I can actually load 64 sounds into a single program. Once I've done that, let's go back to this main menu. Okay, and now I'm gonna go into the grid. Now this is my favorite function, or my favorite part. Firstly, look at this touchscreen. It's ridiculous and it's extremely sensitive. Exactly like any other drum machine. Okay. Here I've got bars and beats, and here I've got my sound. So if you can see that first pad where the kick is, I've already sequenced the 4/4 kick drum. Okay, now I'm monitoring direct through, and I want you guys to listen to the sync. Absolutely watertight. That's 2 loops coming from Ableton, and the kick drum is coming out of the MPC. Okay, now there are many ways that you can input information, that you can input note data into the MPC, right? One is you can play it in. So let's say I want to play that clap. I can just press overdub. Okay, I've got time correction on, so anything that I play is going to be auto quantized. If you're super into loose rhythm, you can take that off. You don't even have to have it auto quantized at all. Okay, cool. So again, if I want to play in triplets, or I want to play in double, or I want to get off the grid or play some strange time signature, I can just go into my time correction settings and disable auto quantize. But for the purposes of this, I want to keep things kind of tight, okay? So turn overdub off, it'll record everything you play. Okay, and okay, now you can see. Now if I want to make an adjustment, for example, if I want to go into the time correction section and I want to put some swing, put some shuffle on there, let's say 60% swing, and I want to put it on everything. Alright, I don't know if you heard that, but you can actually hear pretty obviously the swing. The more elements I add, the more you hear the swing. Okay, let's go find another sound. Alright, and straight to record. Okay, now, this is what's so awesome. You can hear that pad's got a little bit of tail. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna, instead of assign samples, I'm gonna edit samples. Because this pad is, so for example, I wanna look at the waveform. Here I can see the waveform of the sound. If I wanna look at that for the kick, I just hit the pad of the kick, okay? And I can actually see the pad's waveform. Now I've got touch screen control, full control over the length, over the tuning, etc. So let's go back to the sound. I'm seeing the waveform for that sound. And I decided, well, I don't like that tail. So let's grab the end marker and you can hear it tighten up, which is super awesome. Okay. Other things I can do with my fingers very easily is I could, for example, change the tuning. So let's take that tuning. There we go. And it's pretty accurate. It's a pretty good sample engine. So that's down 12. Take it up. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at -5. All right, now it's hard to tell if that's working or not because I have nothing else that's actually tonal yet in the pattern. You may say, can I turn this down? Of course. If I just go to menu and I go to pad mixer, I can actually take that sound and just take it way down in the mix. So it's very easy to mix. Of course, you've got mute and solo and all those sorts of functions. Now, let's say that I want to go back to the grid and I want to get something like this sound. There we go, there's a nice hat. Okay, so I'm going to play it a little bit loose on purpose and then I'm going to tighten it up. Okay, hear that? Auto quantize, immediate. Okay, now, yes, I want to turn that pad down, but more importantly, I want to control the velocity on each hit. So let's have a look here. Actually go over here. Any pad that's highlighted, I'm seeing the data for that pad, which is insanely useful, okay? Now, this is one thing that I personally hate doing. I hate entering velocity information, especially if you're using audio tracks, but even if you're using machine, it's such a pain in the ass to go and edit velocity. Look how cool it is when you have touchscreen, guys. I can actually just go and edit new values. Now you see I'm putting that sound. I don't even need to go and change the level of the pad itself because I've got so much control of the velocity here. So yeah, I really love that feature. It's arguably my favorite. Now think about all the crazy stuff that you can do when you've got your finger or touch screen as an input method for anything. So think automation curves, think MIDI data, think velocity, think anything that can be automated. So the reverb send level, anything that you would normally have to click in with the mouse, now you've got your dirty little fingers controlling it. And that's probably my favorite thing. It's extremely hands-on. It's bringing back the sort of physicality to the music making process. And that's what people used to love about drum machines. It's a very physical process, just getting in there and tapping stuff. All right, so let's keep adding. I'm going to turn my input up. Alright, so for example, let's go back to the grid. I'm looking for another pad. Okay, that's a very nice vocal sample, and let's record that. Now, of course, I don't have to record. I can just take the pencil tool. I'm looking for pad 14, and I'll just put a hit in. Cool. So arguably the best part about this, and the part that sort of resonates with the whole idea that it's a standalone music production station as opposed to just a drum machine, is that it's completely multi-track. Alright, so look how ridiculous this is. Obviously, I'm on track 1, which is this whole drum program, and if I go to my grid view, because it's a drum program, I'm seeing sort of a drum sequence here. I'm seeing bars and beats, etc. Now, if I go to the track menu, and I actually unmute track 2, first I'm going to click on track 2, and you can actually see it totally switches. It switches into this musical mode. I'm going to unmute that, okay? When I go back to the grid view, because it's an instrument, I'm seeing a piano roll, okay? And one of the coolest things about this, and you can do this in the drum view as well, is you can scale. You can scale like a cell phone. You can scale in this very, very, very cool, very accurate way, down to extreme resolution. Okay. Now, let's go up to a decent octave here. That looks good. There we go. Okay, I can actually see, I don't know if you can see, that's playing D, which is exactly the key of my song. Now, of course, I can just grab the pencil tool and I can enter note data. I don't have to play it. But if I do want to play it, okay, and you can hear again, the auto quantize applies almost straight away. Alright, now that's one instrument, and again, the piano roll, right? And you can see I actually have a mixer here where I can control the levels between those two tracks. But if I wanted to then grab the pencil and say, okay, well, I want, let's say, B flat. Okay, well, so nah, that doesn't sound that cool. Let's do it an octave below. Oh, sorry, that's not B flat, that's B. Gives you an idea though of what you can do. Now, I'm going to take that one further, because if you look closely, I've actually got the Korg Volca keys attached, right? This is where things get utterly ridiculous. The output of the synth is plugged straight into the input of the Akai. Which means, for example, if I want to get a call response bass sound, okay. Alright, now of course I can just record that sample, so I'm going to have to go to menu, I'm going to have to go to sampler, and you can actually see that I'm about to arm this for input, right? So let's do that. Let's arm that for input. Okay, again, let's discard that and do it one more time. Okay, I can save that sample, so let's say that is called 1, right? Okay, now it's not assigned to any pads yet, okay? I can assign this to any pad. So for example, I can go back here. See, it just brings up this autosave menu occasionally. And let's go into my track menu. I'll go back to 1. Okay, and I'll go to one of these pads. Right, now I'm going to go sample assign. Okay, and I'm going to scroll down to all these Korg recordings. And there's Korg 1. Right, so you can see it's actually loaded. Let's clear pad. Right. Ooh, a bit of chaos there. That's because I played the sound in a rhythmic way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign it. I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to edit that sample. I may actually just want to steal that first hit. Do you see? Right. Alright, so that's how awesome it is. Now, of course, I could have recorded the whole phrase and gone about editing it, but I just want that single hit. Okay, and that allows me to, of course, now that that's in the Akai, I can go back to the Korg and I can start playing poly sequences, and I'll leave that for the next video. So, if I just turn this down, that is the ninja of the new MPC Live. And believe me when I say I've only scratched the surface, but I wanted to show you what was relevant for me, like at first, and what I think is going to be relevant for most of the people watching this video in terms of hooking up a hardware drum machine, syncing it to, whether it's syncing it to your project or your live set, and then using the library and using the tools and getting stuck straight in making music. I think it's absolutely amazing. If you want more info, comment on this thread or get hold of Akai Professional South Africa, which is distributed by AudioSure.